Manchester United fans, the nonsense that they've had put in front of them, particularly in the league this season, the poor football, they've not complained.
What do you mean the nonsense?
Well, just the poor football.
I call it nonsense. Not nonsense of the criticism.
No. The criticism being completely the pundits and the fans who've sort of criticised out with the stadium is being completely legitimate. And then you see a performance like that, which rewards the fans, shows that Ten Hag can actually set up a team. Right, his team was just fantastically set up. He outwitted Pep Guardiola, and then we had a rather testy press conference afterwards.
Indeed, and Erik Ten Hag is understandably all over the back pages, which we'll get into in a minute. But speaking to talkSPORT after the game, Ten Hag was asked how satisfying it was to prove his doubters wrong.
I don't care. Top football is about winning. Trophies is about, of course, therefore you need a good foundation. And that is to do with way of play. But if you don't have the players available, then no trainer in the world can perform. And then you have to survive, and then you have to find ways to stay in competition, and that is what we did. So I'm very pleased with the team, with the resilience of the team, with the determination, and with the belief. And we knew when they are fit, and then we can play in very high levels.
Just before I get into the back pages, I really started something here with the cyclists. I'm sorry, just to go off piste for a second. I asked for a collective noun for 1,000 cyclists. An annoyance of cyclists, says Ben from Ware. Matt on the M6, a pathetic of cyclists. Cav in Suffolk, a conceit of cyclists. And I can't read out Andrews from West Ham.
We need to get a response from the cyclists union. I'm sure they got a spokesman.
Yeah, do we really want to invite the spokesman?
Yeah, sorry, that was a poor joke. Go on, carry on.
Very funny. Right, back pages, as I say, there's some great pictures, great words.
Honestly, I mean, all of them have been good. You're a sports editor, so I'm sure you have fun with this. I mean, just three of them that stood out to me. Daily Star, gone with the win, like that, back or sack. Telegraph, Ten Hag warning to United, and that quote he came out with in the main press conference: if they don't want me anymore, I can go elsewhere and win trophies. I thought that the best back page, or the front page of a sports supplement, was the Observer. Erik's final glory, which obviously works on two levels, very good headline, and a brilliant picture by our old friend Eddie Keogh, one of the best snappers out there, does a lot of work with England, and the picture is so good. Probably doesn't work on radio, this, but visually he's got Ten Hag facing the camera and embracing the two goal scorers, Kobe Manu and Alejandro Garnacho, and you almost wanted a subhead of past and future.
I would also like to nominate the Times and the Sun for highlighting the picture on the back of Lisandro Martinez carrying Erik Ten Hag, and we did the back page headline of what a carry on, which indeed it is. It's a great picture, that too, and sums up the situation of the players seemingly behind Ten Hag while the bosses aren't. The wet fish handshake from Jim Ratcliffe after he'd been all over Guardiola early on summed it up for me. And then you were in the press conference with Ten Hag. Tell us what that was like.
The press conference was fascinating because obviously the questions are all going to be along the lines of, are you staying? And as he came up with that very strong quote, if they don't want me, I can go and win trophies elsewhere. But what was most telling, and it's interesting talking to some of Ten Hag's supporters in the Dutch media who were there, I say supporters, journalists who know Ten Hag well, they all said the same thing, was the body language of Manchester United's press officer, director of communications, Andrew Ward, who's an individual we both know well, who cares passionately about Manchester United, who takes the defeats to heart, who likes Ten Hag. His body language was just someone who was he obviously wasn't enjoying it. He wasn't enjoying the sort of the scrutiny and the intense questions about the guy on his left, Ten Hag's career. And I was just looking at Andrew, I thought, must be really painful for him because he knows how painful this must be for Ten Hag, which for me, just looking at it from the outside, just shows that the clock is ticking loudly on Ten Hag's time.
There's been quite a bit of criticism about the BBC interviews after the game and how he was sort of not allowed to enjoy his FA Cup moment. But the thing is, everybody wants to know what his future is, and they were sort of saying, look, you've had a terrible time in the Premier League, brilliant performance to win the FA Cup, you had a terrible time in the Premier League. He seemed a bit testy about being asked that, but it's understandable.
But sorry, Lineker and Shearer, brilliant former players, performed on the pitch at Wembley, performed for their clubs, performed for their country. They have this expert view. And actually, they were operated almost pretty much as journalists. They were asking the questions that the viewers wanted answered from Ten Hag, just like the talkSPORT reporters, just like the sort of the Mail and the Telegraph and the Manchester Evening News in the press conference were asking. So I thought it was good. And look, Ten Hag's grown up. He's well paid. He knows the headlines. I'm sure he can cope with things like that.
But in the lead up to the cup final and then the last couple of weeks, he's always been going, no, carry on. Project is as it was. There was even some stuff being put out by the Dutch media in which he was saying, we have a plan and we're going forward. And
did you read that interview?
So supporting me.
That was really strong.
So
that interview.
What's changed between that bit and after the cup final, when it seems like he was either reacting to the Ratcliffe handshake or he'd been told something which indicated his job was no longer secure?
You see, these initial stories that came out, I would be surprised if they came out from either Ineos or the club. That it's not in their interest for that story that came out from The Guardian on Friday for it to come out on the eve of the cup final.
With respect, some papers have done it before that as well.
Absolutely, I'm not. Okay, but it's absolutely not in the interests of Ineos or Manchester United for that story to emanate from them. So obviously, it came from elsewhere. It's very well sourced by The Guardian, and as you say, you and others previously. But Ten Hag, I think it's very different from... Everyone's comparing it to the Van Gaal situation in 2016, when... At the final whistle, people were tweeting, it's over. I remember Dan Rowan's tweet, it's over. He's won the cup, but it's over. A lot of people were tweeting it. Michael Carrick walked into the dressing room having heard the news, and he was just saying, well, just let him enjoy it for a little bit. And Van Gaal obviously won the trophy. I mean, look, Ten Hag... There has to be sympathy for him in terms of the injuries, but you can't finish 8th if you're Manchester United manager. You cannot finish with a minus goal difference. You cannot finish with earlier in the season some of those midfields. Now, he got his tactics right yesterday. And okay, he said he'd had some of the players back. The main one back was Lisandro Martinez, who provides that sort of belligerence.
Who carries him across the pitch.
Who carries him across the pitch, yeah.
So, just quickly, should he be gone by the end of today?
Just let him enjoy it.
Well,
let him enjoy it for a couple of days.
He wants to know what's going to happen. He doesn't want to sit around thinking, well, am I or not? He doesn't want to give them the privilege of letting them stew.
He obviously thought maybe a week ago that he was staying, because otherwise you would have thut he would have gone for the Bayern job.
Interestingly, fans are behind him though, aren't they?
They are. The fans in the ground were absolutely fantastic, but they have been all season.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.